a monthly art podcast about traversing the precarious gap between art school and a professional, sustainable art career. I'm Sonnett Shelline, and I'm a fantasy artist, and I mostly do independent work and some freelance.
I am Victoria Perez-Segovia. I also go by Vickie or Vicstifer. I have too many names for myself. I am a comic artist and illustrator, and yeah, I like making wacky comics.
I'm Jess Bishop, and I do fantasy art as well as game art. And right now I'm working on some indie games and my own indie game, which is called Bear Who Paints.
Oh yeah, that's right. We forgot to talk about the things that we're doing too. So
Yeah, so let's go around and do that. So, Sonnett, what are you working on right now?
well, I currently have a coloring book up on Kickstarter, and it's fully funded already, which is amazing. And I'm super excited about that, and so I've been getting that ready, getting all the rewards started, and it's been an amazing experience. So that's what I'm working on.
And well, first of all, congratulations on it, because that is the coolest shit ever.
Thank you.
I am working sort of between two small comic shows. I just finished doing the Salter Library Comic Fest, which was a really nice small comic festival at the Salter Library near Lincoln Square on the north side of Chicago. And this upcoming weekend, I will be doing Retcon near the south side of Chicago. It's also a first-time convention for the organizers, and I'm really excited about that. And I've got a Patreon that I'm trying to get off the ground. Have been trying to get off the ground for like 50 years, and I'm just constantly making stuff to spam my Instagram with. So please go check me out on the interwebs. You can find me literally by Googling Vicstifer, and you will find all my stuff exposed.
Nice.
And like I said, I work on indie games. I'm working on mine. It's called Bear Who Paints. It's a game about community relationships and death positivity. You can follow me at JRUBishop on my Twitter and Instagram, and I post some occasional updates on that as well as all my paintings.
Nice. And I'm also on everything, all the social media, so yeah, you can just look me up on Sonnett Shelline, at Sonnett Shelline, on any of those.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah! Do we want to talk a little bit about, just quickly, why we started this podcast?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Just really quick. Do you want me to go ahead?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we started this podcast because we found that there was this gap between art school and becoming a professional artist, and we were seeing a lot of people going through the similar experience in trying to navigate this time, which seems very difficult and very, very full of struggles and learning and growing. So we really wanted to talk about that. Anything to add?
I think a lot of information out there is catered towards people who maybe haven't just graduated, to people that might be a little more experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So this is important, and I think it's also cool that we are all women from different parts of the industry and have different interests.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. You guys, I think, said it all, and I mean, I think one of the biggest things that we are going to highlight is how different art experiences can be, and the sort of the beauty and ugliness of it that, you know, that can come, like, for each individual. You know, we all struggle in different ways. even though like we are, you know, under the umbrella term of illustrators, but you know, we all are going to have very different roadblocks.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yep, cool. So tonight we're talking about work ethic and the broad umbrella that that covers. So I definitely wanted to hear people's experiences after school, and suddenly we don't have classes, we don't have deadlines, we don't have projects, and I'm really interested in hearing how everyone dealt with that and how they created structure for themselves. Yeah, I really want to hear about that.
I'll start. So, I mean, the first year was really, really tough. I think self-discipline wasn't necessarily a problem for me as much as just trying to mentally get my head wrapped around about what am I going to do. I think I had this certain expectation when I graduated. I mean, I graduated, I was like, I think I'll just do children's illustration or something, and I really had no idea at all. And my whole style and outlook on things changed completely as soon as I graduated. And it took sort of a routine going. Like right now I'm pretty settled and I've got like a schedule for myself, but it's definitely a constant rebalancing of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I think just from like both the experience that I've seen other people have in general, and I've had this conversation with my husband a lot too, just about the whole thing of like once you're kind of out in the world, out of school, it's like time is just always going to be a blur.
Yes.
Unless you're in school or work at a school, it's like you don't know what day of the week it is.
Yeah.
That's so true.
It's really true.
And like it's crazy because it's like like I have like a million reminders on my phone, like for even the smallest things, and it's like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna set a reminder before the stream. Is that like I have kind of like really like high functioning anxiety, which I think happens to a lot of college students, where it's just like you just have to do things just almost out of like a survival need. Like regardless of how much you're freaking out, it's like you have to get done or else like you can't, you know, move on. And it's just like everyone just wants to move on. And once you're out there, once you're graduated, you're like, okay, what am I moving on to? And it's like you're kind of hitting the ground running once you finish, but you don't know where you're running to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. I definitely I definitely felt that freedom as soon as school ended, because I guess I had some pretty clear ideas about what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go by the end of it, and so I was pretty ready because I really wanted to focus on fantasy art. I really wanted to push it, and I think the thing that I wasn't prepared for is the sudden realization that, oh, I have such a long way to go. You know, like you kind of have a level that you're at in school, and you know kind of where you're at in comparison to other people. You kind of know what your skills are. But I think once you get out and then you start to see the bigger world, it's kind of like you're at the bottom again. You're a freshman
Yes.
again, you know? You're like, I am at the bottom of the totem pole now. Oh, I have to work really hard.
I don't think that feeling ever goes away.
Yeah, it seems to be the case for sure.
Like, you see people who've been doing this for 20 years saying they still feel that way throughout all art industries.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
it's always going to be that struggle, but the positive side of that is you'll always work harder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you won't forget that, like, hey, I'm not as good as people, and that's a problem when I need to
Yeah.
make money.
Yeah.
For sure. Like that, kind of what I was saying earlier, like, I think that like survival need kicks in even harder, which is definitely what happened to me, because I was just like, okay, there is no one guiding me, there's no one holding my hand, there's no one pushing me. Not to say that no one was trying to be helpful, but it's like 90% of it was going to be all me, and I was like, okay, I have to be my own teacher, in the sense of, like, I have to regulate myself, and I have to remind myself, like, don't let yourself stop. Like, take breaks, but don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and you have to be your own critic.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have your
Oh, yeah.
peers or teachers sitting there telling you that that looks like a potato. I had a teacher tell me that.
That looks like a potato.
That looks like a potato.
Yeah, I had a teacher tell me that. No, I mean, yeah, it was good though. Like, it was a really good lesson. It was accurate.
What
But
was
that-
it, though?
Oh, it was in figure drawing class, and I drew a foot. And he goes, that looks like a potato.
Oh.
But then he went on to say, I don't doubt that this is an accurate representation of what this foot looks like, but just because the foot looked like that doesn't mean that you should actually draw it like that. Which,
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
that's another lesson for another day, but I thought it was pretty good. So, but you have to, like, tell yourself that looks like a potato.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Developing that critical eye, that self-awareness about what your weaknesses are, what you need to learn, I think that's so important.
Mm-hmm. If you
How do
don't,
you do that? How do you develop that, you know?
Here's what I do, and this is where a difficult thing comes in, where you have to show other people your work. The best is people who are not in the art industry, because we are in more or less a design field for more of our commercial work. I always just go to either my husband or my parents, or literally anyone who is not in the industry, and I just, like, I'll show it to them, and I'll be like, what does this look like? And if they can identify what I'm trying to make, then I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track. If they're kind of staring at it for a few minutes, trying to make sense of it, then I'm like, okay, I need to go back and sit down.
Yep.
I feel like I learn more from people that are in, like, a design industry, though.
There are certain things that I do value from people that are in the industry. With certain critiques, at certain levels, it becomes, like, unhelpful, because other design people will, I think, are always going to have their own bias on, like, what they think is going to look good.
Right, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah, so I try to think about, like, who is untrained in this, in terms of, like, identifying these things. Because it's like, if I go to, for example, like, one of my friends that's like a graphic designer, or, like, I mean, even, like, some of my relatives who also studied art, it's like, if I go to them, it's like, they're gonna look at it from, like, their perspective of how they studied art.
Right.
And it's like, they're gonna give me a critique that might not even be applicable to the thing I'm working on.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah, that's true. And definitely there's a benefit to having someone who's not informed being able to read what you're, or informed in art, I should say, um, not being able to read what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, because the other thing is, like, because we are in fairly commercial industries, is that we do need to take into mind our consumer.
Mm-hmm.
And while a good number of our consumers will also be creative people, just the same, there's going to be a lot who are not, and, you know, enjoy art because they're like, I don't know how it works, it's magic, you know?
Right,
Yeah.
right. I guess it all depends too on why you're making what you're making. So if
Yeah.
you're making it for the general public, that's different than making it for an art director.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably something we've all thought about as we've come out of school. Like you said, Jess, you changed what you were painting, and I shifted to what I wanted to do more. But it's funny though, as you guys are talking about this, I'm thinking, when I try to critique myself and when I try to push myself, a lot of it is driven out of my own desire to get better at art.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I don't know. So I can look at something and say, okay, that eye is crooked, and it's always crooked, and I need to fix it. So I need to draw 40 eyes until I know how to draw this eye, so it's not crooked anymore. And I've learned a lot from other artists, and I'll take that mirror and do the reverse image thing and try to work on that to improve myself. But I haven't thought of that in that context of like you were saying, thinking about how your audience sees it.
Yeah, and so that what you said in terms of kind of like what drives you, I think that's also another really important question to answer, especially for people that are coming out of school, because it's like we know while we're in school, what's driving us is getting out, graduating, and getting out. You know, and it's like we're all gonna do it in whatever way we need to. You know, some students are just trying to pass the class by trying to do what the teacher wants. Some students are able to kind of like actually work on their art, all of it, which is very difficult. And I applaud anyone who can do it. And I mean, those that are still struggling and are just trying to pass the class, I mean, don't worry, that has happened to us all.
Definitely.
But the point I wanted to get to is what's driving you once you're out. And I feel like a lot of friends that I graduated with, I think that is one of the biggest roadblocks, because they're just like, I don't have like the motivation, or because they're like, okay, like my work schedule is like really busy, and it's like I don't have time outside of work because I'm too exhausted and other stuff is going on. And it's like, yeah, that's totally understandable when your life has switched gears completely. It's super hard to get back to making art when you're not being forced to anymore. It's the hardest thing in the world. And what you mentioned, Sonnett, is like one thing that drives you is like wanting to be better at art. And it's funny because like, while I think that is a bit of a motivation for me, like wanting to be a better artist drives me to like want to like practice and like be more disciplined. But in terms of what drives me to move forward as an artist is like my brain is filled with like all this garbage of like ideas that I just want to get out, and it's just like I'm trying to keep up with my own brain.
Nice.
I
think that's what drives me.
I feel like I had like a completely different experience than both of you.
Yeah, I mean,
like
it's gonna be different for everyone.
I don't know, like I made significantly less art in school than I make now. Like as soon as I got out of school, except for that first year and a half, which was really hard, I don't know. I think sometimes I'm really not motivated and I'm just in such a habit of doing it. Like I don't know what else I would possibly do with my life. Like, of
Mm.
course, I still enjoy what I'm doing. I love it, but it's it's just like what I do, and I it's difficult because when people like, and I understand like being too tired after work. I definitely went through that myself, but like I guess I'll be the hard ass here and be like, well, what are you willing to sacrifice then?
Right. Yeah.
Because at that point, like I've gone back and forth between working and not working, and like some of the things I've sacrificed is like having my own life. Like I don't have money to right now. Like I rely on like family, and I think a lot of us do, and no one really talks about it. But it's like, but for some people, and there's nothing wrong with this, living on their own and being completely independent is more of a priority for them.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's not a priority for us, it's just the other things outweigh it too much. Like, I'd rather be sitting here relying a lot on other people and still making my art than not, because I know that eventually the money's going to come.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's hard to find that balance of priorities.
Yes. That is really true.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about this before too, is that like the sort of persistence. I was also talking about this with like people at the festival over the weekend, but it's the persistence of it, because it's going to be super, super difficult the first at least few years right
At
after
least.
school. At least.
At
At least.
if not more.
Because it's like, if you get an awesome, well-paying job right out of school, good for you, man. Like, that is insane.
So
But
awesome.
it's like, it's not going to happen for everyone. It's so rare. And it's like,
Well,
get over that.
not everyone wants a corporate job.
Right, yeah. Well, like, I mean, in terms of, like, any level of, like, success, like, people who are able to kind of, like, just right out of school be like, okay, well, I'm making my own work, and, like, I was able to find a bunch of clients or something. Like, in, like, any large amount of success in any capacity.
Yeah.
Right.
It's extremely rare for that to happen right out of school, and it's like, otherwise, it's like, you're job hunting, you're client hunting, you're trying to put together work for the next festival, you're trying to, put together concepts for your next, series of paintings for a game that, like, maybe you're trying to, like, look for people to collaborate with, and it's like, that's always going to be such a long process, because it's like, you need to go out and meet people, you need to experience people, and it's like, you're going to experience awesome people, you're going to experience flaky people, you're going to experience people that want to insult you because they're just salty, and like, you just got to keep going, and it's just like, there's going to be so many obstacles kind of trying to knock you down, and it's like, okay, like, sure, go ahead and fall, let yourself fail, but get back up.
Yes.
I think is the biggest thing that people are afraid to do. They're afraid to get back
Right.
up.
Right.
Yes. That stubbornness, that determination, I think that is more than anything what I seem to see in people who actually survive in this career. And I don't think it's something that people talk about, because I think it's so hard to be able to convey this first little while and how difficult it is. Because I think if people kind of knew how difficult it is, they might not start this career. They might not.
Well, art school's easy school, right?
Did you guys see that article where they're like, art students work harder than lawyers? Did you see that?
I feel like I did.
I'm like, that is the truth. And even more so, like you were saying, Vickie, when you get out of school, man, I had my first two conventions, and they were struggles, but I learned so much. And one of those things, one of the big things I learned was that I not only have to learn how to be a better artist, but I have to learn how to run a business.
Mm-hmm.
And I am terrible at it at the beginning, right? Like anyone is.
Yeah.
Like you are when you first draw, right? Like everyone when you start, you're just awful. But it's like you have to go, okay, I'm in it. I'm going to be awful right now, and I'm going to learn. But I want to learn. I want to get better at it. I want to be great at it someday, and that's going to take the time and the effort and the energy and the constant getting back up after that failure and just going for it again.
Mm-hmm. And there's this other thing too, whenever you're starting anything for the first time, whether it's going out on your business venture, you know, starting at a new job, as with any new endeavor in life, you're always going to have a lot of people trying to give you advice. 99% unsolicited advice.
Like ours right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But the biggest thing, I think...
sorry, I derailed you there. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just that, like, I'm kind of laughing at myself because I feel like I'm just coming to this realization, and I know, like, I'm probably going to get shit from a lot of people, like, in my personal life, but, like, and people are just trying to give you, like, a bunch of advice, and it's, like, I always find it super annoying because I'm just like, okay, like, I didn't ask you, but, okay, fine. It's, like, it bugs me, but occasionally, after I experience a few things, then I kind of go back and I'm like, okay, well, I do remember so-and-so mentioning this. And it's just like, okay, I did notice that. And it's not to say that, you know, go out and give people advice because it's always going to be useful to them. Like, let people do their thing, but if someone's giving you advice, let them give you their advice and move on. Just kind of like take it with a grain of salt, put it in your pocket, you know, look at it later type of thing.
Oh yeah.
Is, I think, the best way to approach it, because I know I'm 100% the person, and my parents will tell you this, literally any time they try to give me a suggestion or tell me anything, I'm always like, yeah, I know, and they're just like, okay, you know everything.
I'm totally that same person, Vickie. Like, anyone gives me advice and I'm like, no. And then I think about it and I'm like, oh wait, you're right.
So, real quick, I kind of want to go back to, we were talking about, you know, how we've had fellow grads and peers that have been automatically successful. And I think that the difference between them being automatically successful and everyone else is that they already had a voice. Like, they already knew what they wanted and they were working towards that. And I think that's a really good thing to think about, is the self-awareness of knowing where you want to go. And not everyone can figure that out right away. And that also comes with the discipline and your work ethic. And, you know, like we were talking about, where you're doing things, your motivation is to get out of school. Instead of your motivation being, I want to do this for a living. Like, I want to work at this company. I want to do these kind of illustrations. And that should be your motivation from the beginning.
Yeah.
But, and the people that are successful instantly are already doing these things and already getting work before they're out of school, because they realize they're students, but they're also already professionals. And that's how they're looking at themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I also saw that as well.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that point as well. I think that's also just like a really important thing to highlight too. what you were saying, because it's like certain things are going to be motivating us to progress at different points in our lives.
Yes.
We're in school, we just want to graduate, so we're doing the work as best as we can, or sometimes not as best as we can, but bare minimum, just to get through it. And that, what you were saying, Jess, has definitely come up, I think, right after I finished school, because I definitely, whenever I would hit creative blocks, which was devastating sometimes, because you're just like, there is nothing in my head right now, but I need to do something. Often going back and remembering why you wanted to be an artist, why you wanted to make a career out of it, is an important thing to remind yourself of.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And I also don't think that, you know, we all fail pretty much every day. But I don't think it should ever have to be a question of, do I want to try again? And that's where the passion comes in. And like, let's be frank, I think a lot of people that go to art school don't actually have a passion for it.
Yeah, that's, you know, there's this funny myth that art is an easy thing to do, and it's really not. And I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, hey, you know, I just want to do this as a hobby, or this is something I just want to do in my spare time because it brings me joy. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I think this is incredibly hard work, and not only hard work, but I think also it's like a hit to the ego every day. You know, it's like a punch in the face of your ego every single day. And I think if some people choose not to do that every day, like they're not masochistic enough to do that every day, then I'm like, you know what, you go paint your stuff and enjoy it, and not worry about this part of it, because I think it takes, like, some serious determination and masochism to go to pick yourself up and fight for this, and a love and a passion, obviously. I love it.
I mean, it does. I don't have many friends that aren't creatives, but the ones that aren't, I get flack from them all the time. Like, I wish I could stay at home and do art. I'm like, but you can't, because you don't know how. And like, let me tell you, it is great not having to worry about putting pants on, but the rest of it is not.
Right. Yeah, it's like, sure, it's fun, you know, like knowing like I can just walk, you know, a few feet over to my workstation and just like sit, do art, go through my sketchbook, do stuff on Photoshop, but then at the same time, I'm just like, well, I'm also trying to look for a stable job so I have some kind of steady income, because the conventions that are far and few between, the ones that I can actually table at, you know, it's like I don't make enough money to live off of yet.
Yeah.
And it's like the ones that I could potentially make money off of, I'm like, my art isn't even at that level yet, and that's like, I guess in terms of goals, a goal of mine, and I think that's another important thing, is to have goals, not just big long-term goals, but even small goals. I think has helped me out a lot.
Yes.
Since graduating, just like setting small goals, just being like, okay, I just want to get like this one piece done by the end of the week.
Yeah.
Right.
Get a couple strips done by, you know, the end of the week. And it's just like, sometimes you don't meet those goals because there is so much stuff going on in your life.
But it's still important, like you said, to set them.
Yeah.
Just to try to keep you on your game. Like, I'll even go as far as, it's all subconscious too, but I'll go as far as being today. Like, and you don't need everything. But just writing it down, at least you're going to get some of it done, and you can take some responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of my huge pet peeves, is people that can't take responsibility for themselves. And it's like, just realize what you can and can't do. And then
Yeah.
it's not as much of a problem. Have some awareness of yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay if your best is not as good as someone else's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we do also need to clarify that taking responsibility for yourself doesn't necessarily mean that you are completely 100% independent or self-reliant, you know? It's
Oh,
like,
no.
taking responsibility is being aware of your capabilities and knowing when you need to ask for help, knowing when you need support.
Absolutely.
And to do
Yes.
to do the right thing for yourself and ask for that support.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, knowing your limitations, knowing what you need to do to get the art done. Like for me, I have to have, and we'll probably talk more about this in one of our health and care episodes, but I think that it's imperative for me that I have, if at all possible, evenings and weekends off. Like I have to, because I know if I don't, then the art suffers.
Yeah.
And one of that too is just to take care of my hands.
Oh yeah.
But I know that. I know that about myself. I know that if I don't get enough sleep, you know, I'm not going to be able to make the art I need to make. I know if I don't take care of myself, then I can't meet those goals.
Right.
So I try to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, eating
Yeah,
and sleeping
and-
is good.
Sleeping is great.
Yes.
Yeah, as my friend Karen would say, Vickie, take a break and eat something. Like, she will literally call me sometimes and just be like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Have you eaten yet?
Aw,
Yeah.
that's really
She'll be
nice.
Yeah, she'll be like, did your husband feed you yet? And I'm just like,
That's good. That's a good friend.
Like, I can feed myself, but yes.
'cause, like, sometimes, I mean, like, I'll get into that workflow where I'm just like, yeah, I have all these great ideas, I'm going to keep going forever. And then I realize 7 hours has passed and there's no sunlight anymore, and I'm just like, what?
I never forget to eat. I know, like, I always hear from people, I forget to eat, I forget to sleep. I'm like, I have never had that problem in my entire life.
I don't forget to sleep
That I
too
just
much.
that I just don't.
I'm like,
Honestly.
sometimes my schedule will get off and I'll be like, I'm gonna, especially now that I live in Florida, I'm like, it's too hot to be awake right now. So I'll like go to bed in the middle of the day, but then I'll be up until 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's just about making sure you get those hours in somewhere.
Yeah.
It's
For sure.
getting
Your
in the
schedule can be different. For
exactly like just knowing what your body needs or having the awareness, like we've been talking about, to listen to what your body needs and balancing that with your work ethic.
And you know,
Yeah.
you kind of know when you're most productive. You know, you kind of know what hours of the day when you're most attentive or focused. And I think, you know, some people are night owls, some people work better in the morning. And if you know that, then you can tailor your day to that.
Yep.
And if you're working too, like, you can find those times of the day, like maybe your commute or your lunchtime, if you have the energy to do it.
Yeah.
When you can sneak that stuff in.
Yeah, and like even kind of like day-to-day things are also really important things to factor into your schedule. Like it's something that I had a very hard time doing because there's always like a million things that I want to do. I'm like, oh, I want to try to get, you know, like a comic strip done today. I want to finish this illustration and I want to do my like social media stuff. That like in my brain when I'm planning it, I think it's going to take like 5 minutes, but no, it takes me like an hour to do all of that because I'm like going on Twitter, Instagram, doing a million tags, trying to figure out which tags are going to work and all that junk. But like, I just want to say to anyone that schedule for themselves and you know that like you want to do a bunch of stuff, schedule in your breaks, schedule in
Yes.
Things as simple as like hygiene, like showering, or
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know people who will not take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Very frustrated when they realize that, like, oh, like, I wasted time by taking a shower when I could have been working. I mean, I know I've definitely been that person at some point, and it's just like, I'm like trying to pack like a whole 24 hours of like nothing but work, and I'm like, oh wait, I didn't factor in food.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta factor those things in, those survival things in.
It's hard because I think for a lot of people it comes in waves as well. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like you want to take advantage of that high wave. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm feeling really positive and creative right now, and I'm going to ride this until I kill myself.
Yeah, that absolutely happens to me. And it's just like, I'm a little bit better about catching myself, but like sometimes, like for example, after doing a festival, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like you talk with other artists and you get really motivated and you're like, yeah, like we got to do all this hard work and we got to keep going. Everyone's kind of like patting each other on the back, being really awesome and encouraging. And you go home and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna work on this stuff and have it ready for this thing. And then you go home and you sit down and you kind of like, you might either just like tap out, or you're a doofus like me and you're just like, I'm gonna keep working, and then like
Oh,
at a certain point your brain is just completely tapped out and you're just like,
yeah.
nothing is making sense
No,
anymore.
Well,
you gotta have that day. You gotta have that recovery day.
I think
Yeah.
that's what happens with art school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why a lot of people, myself included, you just kind of break when you're done.
Yes. Yep.
Because all of a sudden you, like we were talking about earlier, all of a sudden you have time to process things that were going on in your life when you were in school, but you're like, I don't have time to
Mm-hmm.
deal with these issues because I'm in school.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as you're done, it's kind of like this exhaustion. And it's really hard to keep up with work after such a long stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I think is really important, is just learning how to sustain creativity.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I watch
I
a lot
agree.
of documentaries.
That's how you sustain it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good though.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just weird stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you can find that inspires you in any way, like just go for it. Like,
So now that you mentioned that, I guess in terms of and I think this does actually play into kind of like your own work ethic. What type of media consumption inspires you guys or influences like the way you work?
Podcasts and Critical Role.
Yeah.
Forever. Forever and ever.
Absolutely.
I watch a lot of conspiracy documentaries.
Nice.
I don't really draw any art that reflects that too much.
That's all right.
But
Yeah.
Doesn't have
I
to be
like it.
related.
I also watch a lot of trash television.
Nice.
I don't actually watch it. I put stuff like that on, or comedies, in the background, just to keep something in my mind that's not debilitating to my process.
Right. Yeah, I have found that that seems to be a common thing. When I was doing an internship last summer, I was working at in a cool like loft studio in Evanston, and you know everyone was at their like workstations, and everyone it's like listening to their podcast, watching their Netflix and stuff while we're working, and it's just like everyone was watching something that wasn't like super kind of like mentally draining. Like there was definitely a lot of reality garbage TV, a lot of like mediocre comedy shows where it's just like okay, like I'm tired and I'm working, but it's like I need something to make me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think
just,
it's...
like, and
Go ahead.
like it's just that kind of like little thing, like something that will like give you little energy boosts, like even just like make you laugh, like it kind of helps alleviate the gravity of like what you're working on.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because if you start listening to like sad music or a really sad movie, it's going to affect your workflow. If you're watching something that doesn't mean anything,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of something that evens you out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you hit, like, if you're doing like a tedious part or it's something that maybe you don't enjoy. Like when I'm transferring drawings, which is my least favorite thing to do, it's something, it's something, it's mindless. It's not like you have to think a lot about it. Or once you've decided your strategy on painting, at least for traditional, it's like you have to plan it all out beforehand, and then you head into the painting, kind of having the strategy all planned out. Then it's like the best because it speeds up that time anytime that you're not thinking about the thing. But I did want to say that music does help me when I'm thinking of ideas. When I'm trying to generate ideas and thumbnails and themes, I do find that helps me a lot.
Yeah, I'm total opposite.
You're like, nope, not at all.
I'm also like bad at process.
Yeah.
Like I do the opposite of everything they taught us.
Yeah.
But
do you
I mean,
like dive right in?
I do.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Most of the time. It's not good. Don't do that.
You don't do exactly like what we were taught in school, but I definitely found a process that like works for me. And I think I'm always like I feel like I rotate between kind of like different modes of like process of like, okay, I want to do this one project. How am I going to start it? Like I'll start it a certain way, and if that's not working, I'll try something else. And like for me, it's a matter of like efficiency. And like I know with my own work, if I try to dive right into it, it's gonna come out garbage because that doesn't work for me. But like I know if I find some way to work through like the major problems of the piece before I get to the final one, as long as I find some way to do that, I'm able to do it. And like what like influences us, I think, with like concepts. When it comes to coming up with a concept, I think for me, it's literally just a clutter of ideas. Like, I always have some kind of concept. For me, it's the execution. Because I am one of those useless idea people where I have far too many ideas and not enough skill to put them out fast enough. But that's where I have to be disciplined and have to be like, okay, well, I need to be constantly improving my art to show people that this is a good idea and not something stupid that's just in my head.
But that's the thing is like you're going to get better because you're doing it anyway. Like with every single piece you make, you with enough self-awareness, I guess, you should be able.
That does keep me going, is seeing that progress over time.
Yeah.
I think once you start to see that, because at first you're not going to see it at all.
Right.
You're just doing it and you're like, everything's gross.
Yeah.
Well, that's why people do that draw it again thing.
Yeah. 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 Or if you do like a monthly challenge, like those are great. If you do Junicorn or Junfei or you do Inktober.
Mermay
is great. I love that. Smogist is going on right now. If you do any of those.
What is Smogist? I haven't heard
dragons.
So dragons.
Yes.
That is so. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I saw that advertisement for that like tiny book of dragons on Facebook.
Yes.
And how they're taking submissions, and I'm just like, oh my god, I want to submit a tiny dragon.
I know.
But that makes sense.
Yeah.
I haven't drawn a dragon since I was, I don't know. It's been a really long time.
Too long.
Apparently.
for the comic I'm working on. Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't plug this earlier. That's so bad. So I'm actually working on a comic for the Ladies' Night anthology on Comics. I completely forgot to mention it because I'm just like overwhelmed with like not just that, but also working, like making sure I have enough stuff to sell at my table this weekend, even though I was literally working on the comic like earlier today. But we were talking about the last time we tried drawing dragons, and like I was trying to come up with like a dragon concept for this comic that wound up being scrapped just because of like conflict in the story and all this stuff. But it's like I love dragons so much, but I'm so bad at drawing them. Like, they don't look like my normal drawing style. Like, it just looks like someone trying really hard to draw a dragon.
Oh no! Oh.
But I do want to get better, just because I do enjoy making fantasy art.
Oh, me too, for sure. Like dragons, I can draw a dragon head. The rest of the body, maybe wings, but like the rest of the body, I'm like, I don't know how
it's just like a lizard.
I know, I need to practice. That's on my list.
Just draw a lizard and then put wings on it.
I'm working on it.
Terrible. I'm really bad at drawing animals. Period. Like, I suck at drawing animals.
Just do studies.
It's a specialty. Yeah.
No, yeah.
Oh, this is a good topic. Actually, really quick, we should talk about like studying and work ethic.
I'm a big fan.
You are.
I love studies though. Like, that's kind of a form of meditation for me. Is testing yourself, at least for me. Like, I can draw mindlessly things from reference, and that's helpful. Like, you just get that body memory in there, but I also try to do it from memory too, because then I can start to think about the structure.
Yeah.
And that helps me understand the structure of what I'm drawing better. So, yeah,
Ooh.
I do both.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Like the structure of the object.
Yeah.
Huh?
Not just...
If I have to remember how an eye works, or an eye works 3/4 view, then I can start to say, okay, this is in perspective, this is the perspective cone. Like
anatomy studies.
Face. Yeah, I start to think about it more engaged than I do when I'm just drawing from a picture.
No, I think that's key, though, is doing anatomy studies, so you learn that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have not been good about... studies in that sense. I think I've been focusing a lot on, like, when I'm doing illustrations, on my compositions and colors.
Nice.
And so, like, I'll have, like, a great composition, and then you see, like, this cool, like, thing, like, the colors are working great, and then you see something that's supposed to be a dragon, but it looks like squiggles. And I'm like, I didn't practice this enough.
But you have the self-awareness to know that you need to practice the actual content.
Yeah, I think, like you were saying, Jess, like that self-awareness is super important, and like knowing is sort of like when you have any kind of problem, knowing is the first step, and then doing something to solve that problem is, I mean, it can be the hardest part, but you just gotta do it.
There's no shortcut. It's just drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing, or painting and painting and painting and painting.
Yeah, I don't think we can say that enough about the no shortcut thing.
Yeah.
It's literally practicing hours every day.
Yeah, like, it's like any skill, it's just like working out. You're not gonna get any type of result if you don't do it consistently, if you do not persist, if you do not make yourself get through the hard moments.
Yep.
Right. Like, it's like, I'll do a set of crunches and be like, I'm thinner now, right?
Like,
but that's not how it works. I'll be like, yeah.
That would be amazing.
I lost a lot of weight today.
Yeah.
That would be amazing if it worked that way. Like,
but it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm right. Yep. That's a good note to end on, guys. We're at like 8:55, so we're getting close to the end here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, draw more
Like we
things,
could talk about this forever.
Yeah.
Make the art.
In conclusion, take care of yourself, do the thing, take a break, take a nap, wash
Yes.
yourself,
Hygiene is important.
and then step outside for a few minutes at least, and then go back in and continue.
Yeah.
Exactly. And just expose yourself to things that inspire you. I mean, even if I am not feeling up to actually drawing in a day, which happens, I'll still try to do something that's going to influence my creativity.
Yeah.
Like, I do reading, or I watch documentaries, or I'll watch a movie that has similar style going on of things that I like, read some comics.
Take a look in a book, guys. Reading Rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
I still read my art history textbook.
I have mine too.
It's great.
It is really good. I like it a lot.
Which one do you have?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but I like mine.
I've got the Gardner's Art Through the Ages.
Yeah, that's the one.
There we go. That's the one everyone has.
It's good.
Get it, guys.
That's the one I gave away to a classmate.
Oh, you did? You're like, okay.
Wow. No, that was a mistake.
Well, I mean, for me, like, being in school and being a student, it's like, I had, like, such a sympathy for, like, other students who just hated dealing with, like, mundane things like that in school, and they were just like, oh, like, paying for textbooks, and, like, I can't find it online, and I'm just like, here, just take mine.
Oh, that's awesome.
I would have, like, pulled it out of their hands when they were done.
You, like, give that back to me.
I mean,
That's funny.
our living space is also overflowing with books, so, I mean, I have, like, other art books.
Yeah, okay. I guess you can look up all the classical art on the internet.
That's funny.
Google has a great collection. You can go through all these famous museums and their like arts and culture app.
The library.
I love that. Mm-hmm.
So that's another resource.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nope.
We should wrap up.
We should.
Yeah.
And we should say where to find us again, and I think for our topic next month, we're going to be second Tuesday of next month, and I think we were talking about work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting in contrast to our Do More Things podcast today. So
yeah,
look forward to that.
That next podcast, to reiterate, the date will be September 13th, the second Wednesday.
Oh yeah, thank you.
At 8 p.m. Central Time. So if you are in a different time zone, please check your internet clock. I'm saying things that make sense.
No, it's good. It's good. And yeah, where can they find you online?
Once again, you guys can find me at Vixtifer. My website is vixtifer.com. I am all over the internet, spread very thin. I have a Twitch channel. It's called Vixtifer. Please follow me. I'm going to start doing more live streams. I'm actually going to start streaming some of the process work that I'm doing for the Ladies' Night Anthology.
Awesome.
And I do have a Patreon, so if you would like a drawing of your Dungeons & Dragons character, go support me on Patreon, because I will do the thing for you. And otherwise, follow me at Vixtifer on Twitter and Instagram.
Nice. Jess?
You can find me everywhere at JRU Bishop, and my website is Jessica R.U. Bishop. And yeah, you can go follow me and see the things I do for Bear in my paintings, or yell at me, whatever you want to do. It's fine.
Yay! And I'm Sonnett Shelline, and I'm at sonnettshellline.com, and I'm everywhere on social media at Sonnett Shelline. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. It's a little neglected. I'm mostly on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And I'm also running a Kickstarter right now. And please check it out. It's the Quaint Spirits coloring book, and that would be awesome. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us tonight.